well, the year was 93, and I was sitting watching television, and I first sort of noticed my hand just shaking very occasionally, and I didn't really think an awful lot of it at the time. Well, I noticed it a bit more often, and funnily enough, at the time I was watching one of these doctors' programs on the television, and one of the doctors had developed Parkinson's. So I started comparing my symptoms with his, and I suddenly thought, gosh, but I never in a million years thought it was Parkinson's. And after that, there was a sort of series of events, and Holly, my youngest daughter, started school, and I just felt very low, and various other things, and I went to my doctor, and she immediately thought I was depressed. Told her about the sort of slight wobbly leg and wobbly hand, and she just kind of didn't want to deal with that at the time. She wanted to sort out my depression first, so we did that, and then we were going away on a family holiday, and I wanted to get it sorted before I went, because she thought it might be a trapped nerve or something. So she sent me up to the hospital to see this neurologist, and he just took one look at me and said, I think you've got Parkinson's. It's either Parkinson's or a brain tumour. And they can tell from the way you walk. Your whole gait has changed. And, looking back, I probably knew maybe something was wrong. Things were taking a long time. It took me a long time to write. Writing Christmas cards one Christmas. I just felt my hand wasn't moving as quickly as my brain was telling it to. So, that was one of the things. And then housework used to take me a long time. Suddenly looking at other people cleaning their bath, I thought, gosh, she does that a lot faster than I do. But I just thought I was being very thorough. So anyway, yes, he then sent me for a scan and to rule out a brain tumour, and then there's another scan you can get now that shows up the part of the brain that is affected with Parkinson's, and they confirmed that's what it was. I suppose at the beginning, you are depressed because that's one of the side effects, and that's often how people are first diagnosed. And then I suppose you just become more accepting of it, and it's part of your life. And you look around, and everybody's got something going on in their life that you don't necessarily know about at the time. So it's not just you that's having a crap time, everybody does. But then once I'd been diagnosed, I didn't really want to tell anybody. I told the family, obviously, eventually, and when I eventually probably did tell close friends, maybe about 8 months later, the ones that have any medical history had guessed there was something wrong. And a couple of people had actually phoned Gavin in that time and said, what's wrong with Diane? So they had noticed, but probably because I was quite depressed for a while, just accepting it and dealing with it and dealing with the depression. And then, you suddenly realise that, well, the more you learn about it, you're not going to die within the next 2 years unless, you die from something else. As soon as you're told about it, you think, well, you don't know anything about it. Your first question to the neurologist is, well, how long have I got? But you can't actually die from Parkinson's, you die with it, so they say. I think probably my biggest fear was not going to be able to do things for the kids or do things with the kids, and I didn't want them growing up with a sort of disabled mother who couldn't sort of join in and do things with them. But again, we put that to rest quite quickly because we went on quite long haul holidays, and I did everything that they were doing. So I think just for a while you think you're not going to be able to do a lot of these things, but you can, and you still can. And even now, if I haven't been on a long haul flight for a while, the thought of doing it worries me slightly. But then once I'm on, you just relax and get on with it. Well, when the diagnosis finally came through, we were just about to go to Australia for about 4 weeks, so we didn't tell anybody. And because I don't think we hadn't actually had the official letter saying that's what it was, so we decided just to go away, enjoy our holiday, and get on with it. But again, looking back, I actually was probably quite ill at that stage because I'd lost a hell of a lot of weight through the depression and just the worry. So anyway, we had a good holiday, and came back, and I was staying with my in-laws because we were having an extension built at the time, which was also quite stressful, so it didn't help. And the kids were young, they were 5 and 7 probably. So I just remember I got the letter confirming it when Gavin was still away, and I was staying with my in-laws, and he phoned, and I told him, of course I was very tearful, and he said, let me speak to my mum and dad. So he, of course, and he was, felt awful because he was the other side of the world. So he told his parents, and they were just unbelievable. They just sort of gave me a big hug and said, we'll deal with this. And Gavin then phoned my sister Caroline and told her to phone me. And again, I could tell she was shocked, but she didn't sort of burst into tears or anything, which would have made me feel worse. And then we told my mum, who said, how did you get that? Did you get a bump on the head? So, everybody had different ways of reacting. And then, from that point, we didn't really tell anybody other than close family. Didn't really want anyone else to know. And then, I think once I'd eventually, about maybe 9 months later from the diagnosis, started taking medication, that's when we decided to sort of tell people. But not everybody. But gradually people obviously found out because they could tell there was something wrong. But actually once I then started taking the medication, it really helped, and I was a lot better than I had been. So I sort of got on with a fairly normal life for quite a long time. Adam used to make comments, my oldest one, about if I sat down on the sofa at night, sometimes he used to say, God, stop jumping about, just sit still. But again, that's part of Parkinson's that comes and goes. I'm bad at the moment because I'm nervous doing this, so your adrenaline's pumping more, and also depending on what your medication's like, sometimes when you up your medication the jerky movements become worse, but that's not Parkinson's, that's a side effect of the drugs. So unfortunately, if you stop taking this certain drug, these movements would stop immediately, but you need the drug to deal with Parkinson's. So we hadn't really told the kids. I think they obviously knew until Gavin decided to do this big climb Mount Kilimanjaro a year ago, and it was doing a big press release, so we had to really let the kids know. So we just sat them down one night round the tea table, and I just said to them, I just sort of said, I move about a lot, or sometimes I don't move very much at all, and it's because I've got Parkinson's. And they both just sort of said, what's Parkinson's? And I just sort of said, it's an illness, but I'm not sick, I'm not going to die from it, and life will be fine. And they were very accepting of it, really. In fact, they were great. They didn't really. I think Holly's question was, do they make those rubber bands that you put around your wrist? Can I sell them at school? And Adam just sort of said later on, he said, is that why you move about a lot or shake? You've got shaky hands? And I said, yes. And he just sort of said, oh, prove you. But they've never referred to it since then. Apart from he did it at school once, they were talking about Parkinson's. So I think he put his hand up and said, my mum's got Parkinson's, but other than that, they're fine. No, I wouldn't say I've lost friends. I would say that the friends that I have are, how would I explain it? The good friends that I had have become fantastic friends and would do anything for me any time of the day or night, or and they never have to be asked. If they come round for dinner or anything, they clear all the dishes away, they clean up and everything. If we're ever on a plane, they just automatically take my case for me and put it in the hold or wherever. And there's maybe a few people that have not distanced themselves for that reason, I think, just because friends come and go, but I certainly value my friends. I always did value my friends, but you know, I'm very lucky with the friends I have. I really am. Some great people. Well, that's probably something that's I've only really noticed over maybe the last year. Obviously, you know, each day is worse than the day before, really, with Parkinson's. You're never going to have a better day than the one you've just had, because it's, you know, the brain cells are dying off gradually. So, yeah, over the last year, I have to say, I have noticed, because depending on what time of day it is, how my medication is, you know, I can sometimes go to the supermarket, fill my trolley and feel fine, and then get to the checkout and think, oh dear, you know, the medication's wearing off, am I going to make it in time? And, you know, you start packing, and I can see people sometimes behind staring at me or looking at me if my legs start shaking, or, you know, if I can't get my card out of my purse, you know, they sort of look at you a strange way. And certainly, you know, if I'm walking along the street and having a jerky day like I did today, sometimes I hear people laughing and I immediately think they're laughing at me, but they're probably not, you know. But it suddenly makes you very aware of people that have a disability and what they must have gone through if they've had it since the beginning of their life. But again, it's something you learn to live with, and, you know, if they want to know what's wrong with me, I'll tell them. I suppose just, you know, having gone from being a normal, fit 30-something to suddenly having this life sentence handed out to you, you know, and you're not ready for it. And I now look back and think, well, I wish I'd made a bit more of this or that, but I suppose on a positive note, you are given a life sentence, so you then think, well, you know, bloody hell, let's get out there and make the most of it. And, you know, we really do try to do that, because you have no idea how long you're going to be at a certain stage for. So, and, you know, everybody's case is different, really, so you can't, you know, plan too far ahead, but, you know, get out and enjoy life as it is. But the bad, I suppose, is the pain that people, you know, I mean, most of the time you look fine, so people don't realise there's an awful lot wrong with you, but inside, you know, your whole body could be shaking and you're just trying to keep it still, or, you know, your body's not working, the signals aren't getting to your hands or whatever, so, you know, the slightest job, even like chopping up an onion, can take forever, because your hands just won't do the job that you're trying to get them to do. But yeah, the pain is probably quite a horrible thing, and just discomfort, and, you know, it's embarrassing. You know, you don't like going out and wriggling about all the time, you know, and also it burns up calories, you feel tired when you come home, and you know, you lose your confidence because of it. I don't know, I think the good things are, you really do look at life as perhaps a gift, that you've been given this time in this world, and, you know, make the most of it. Stop complaining about things that, you know, are trivial. I've become, I mean, I probably was always quite a patient person, but I would say I'm more patient now than I ever was, because, you know, with the kids, well, what's the point of getting worked up over some silly little thing that's, you know, not going to bother them, or you're going to, you know, you're not going to remember it in 2 years' time. And friendship, I think, and family, just appreciating people more, and yeah, I mean, there are good things that have come out of it. When I first got diagnosed, some nights I used to lie in bed and, you know, get very tearful and not know what lay ahead in the future, and I used to sort of lie in bed and say to Gavin, you know, I wish I didn't have this, you know, I wish I had cancer instead, and then at least you can be cured from that, and that's it. But, you know, he sort of said, that's just such a stupid thing to say, you know, with cancer, you're sick, you know, your body falls apart, there's always the threat that it's going to come back again, you know, and it's true. You know, I mean, if you think back to it, had I been diagnosed with a brain tumour instead of Parkinson's, I might not be here now. So, yeah, there are good things that come out of it. You have to think positively. If you don't think positively, all the symptoms get worse and you have crap days. And if you do think positively, then, life is worth getting up for in the morning. So you just have to do it and spend money. To be honest, no. I mean, from the very beginning, my doctor said to me when I was diagnosed, she said, whatever you do, don't go home and look it up on the internet, she said, because, apart from the fact it's normally older people that are affected by it, she said, you'll read a lot of gobbledygook that'll make you think your life's over and you're going to die tomorrow. She said, and it's just not like that. I mean, she's been amazing. So I haven't ever really looked it up much or sought an awful lot of information out about it, to be honest, because if somebody comes up with a cure, then that's fantastic, but there's no point in getting terribly excited about it. So I don't really look into all that, which some people probably do, but I don't think it's that good an idea. Well, I think all the chat about the stem cells, I mean, I'm not a scientist, so I don't really understand it all, but it does sound quite promising, like that, they're not too far away from it. I mean, if you look at the whole thing about Parkinson's, it sounds like it would be quite simple to cure, because your body stops producing this hormone, and they know what the hormone is, so it's just working out how to get it back into your brain in a slow drip feed rather than one big sharp boost. So I mean they've done umpteen experiments, I think, with rats and mice, and have some proof that it does work, but it's obviously just getting a license for it and starting trials and see what the effects are, the outcome is. But again, you have to question as to how far along the road would it be effective. If you've had Parkinson's for quite a long time, would it be effective on you? I don't know. Well, I suppose when Gavin agreed to do the climb of Mount Kilimanjaro and did all these press releases, that was when it really became public, and I was actually surprised at how many people hadn't realised that was what I had, and I got loads of emails from friends of the family saying I didn't have any idea that was what was wrong with you, and so all very much came out in the open then, and actually I felt a lot better after that, because I just then thought, well, everybody now knows, teachers at school know, so if they thought I was acting a bit weird, and all the children's friends know now, and they just accept it, which is nice. But coming out into the open, I suppose, was the right thing to do, and I, in a way I wish I'd done it a few years before that. I don't know, I suppose at the back of my mind, to keep you going, you do probably think, well, yeah, there probably is a cure that's going to come round quite soon. A lot, you talk to people and they say, yeah, there's a cure around the corner. Part of you doesn't want to get your hopes up, but at the other side of things, you do have real hope that things will, sometimes I lie in bed in the morning when it's, I'm at my worst, and you kind of have to wait now till medication kicks in before you can sort of get on with your day, and I just lie there thinking, if I could be given back just one day of how it was to feel 100%, because you don't really know when it all started, when you started to become affected by it. It could have been years before I even had the kids, I suppose, because by the time they do diagnose it, I think they say 80% of your brain cells in that particular area aren't working anymore. So it would be nice, that would be my wish, to have a day just to see what it was like without wiggling around all the time.